all here, we make all milk and all milk gets shipped out.
And then you gotta feed up, you gotta, work,
Costs money, the shipping costs money.
you
What do you think? There's a load, loads are going out of here to Williamsport. What do you think that costs the truck to have those loads to Williamsport?
It's not gonna get any better, because the price of gas is going up.
Chairman Bear, we're ready when you're ready.
Thank you. Right back to the chain business again, aren't they?
Trade station?
Over here, yeah. God,
No.
they're making cheese again, aren't they?
Talking about John Noble.
Craig's,
Craig,
Craig's
yeah.
Creek,
Craig's station.
They, not as much as you think,
but they're making cheese, aren't they?
very little. Yeah. The partner pulled out and then we started,
A lot of the partners pulled out.
the folks from Arla is the name of the company that was in.
Your live streaming right now.
Bear streaming.
They have that much room for a big outfit like this though. For cheese,
Possibly. Yeah, but that's
I'm happy to see it, but
that's in Genesee County.
All right, I'll call the BAC for the order. We have the same attendance we had at the IDA meeting which we just finished. You all have a copy of the board minutes from the April 8th meeting. Are there any additions, corrections, or discussion? If not, I'll entertain motion to approve those minutes.
move another end.
Did you move it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Sorry.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? We have the financial report for the same week, for April, I should say. And are you going to
I can go.
help us again?
Sure,
Thank you.
okay. We started the month of April with 1,567,711. April's income was 6,920.60, and we received some principal payments of 22,369.33. April's expenses were 3,172.87, and we ended the month of April with 1,593,828 in cash and investments. And on the next page is the loan portfolio, and we'll be discussing an entertainment collective next as an action item.
Okay. Are there any questions or discussion on the financial report? All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And Jim, let me turn the discussion of 3A over to you. I think you talked to me briefly, but
This is a request from the Entertainment Collective, which is the LLC that owns the Williams Opera House in Attica on Exchange Street. There's a series of emails in your packet from the owner, gentleman by the name of Sage Keeber. It's stapled together in reverse order because that's the way emails work. But his initial request on the second page on April 14th down on the bottom, after he explained some issues with his account being hacked at PayPal and his funds being tied up as a result of that, put him in a position to be late on a payment. That's why we contacted him, and his email popped up afterwards. At the bottom of the letter, first email, he talks about looking for a short-term deferment while he kind of gets back on his feet a little bit. So after some give and take with him, we thought maybe 6 months deferral, principal and interest would help him get the ship righted a little bit and get him back on track for making payments. As you know, his original thought with the Opera House was to have it as a musical venue, and there hasn't been a musical venue open in over a year, and unfortunately it's hurt his business as well.
and also the back of the building collapsed.
Yeah. And it's still uninhabitable at this present time.
I'm informed by a fellow who was involved in making estimates that repairs are, I'd say, massive repairs required to get it inhabitable. Habitable, I should say. And I don't know that we've ever had a report on that, but I've heard from other sources.
Yeah, I was in it when, and maybe you were as well, Mr. Chairman, when shortly after the back wall fell in. And I guess some of the demolition work that was done, trying to renovate the building, actually weakened the structure significantly, and that was part of the cause. But he's looking for a six-month break.
Apparently took out some supporting walls or something of that nature. Didn't really have a good understanding of what that is.
I've never been in the place. What do they do for revenue, Jim?
He's
Remind me.
Right now, he's trying to do a lot of online sales and things for music and tunes and things that I don't understand. Maybe Jennifer and Scott do, but I know he deals a lot with Spotify, whatever that might be.
Streaming, music streaming.
Music streaming.
You're not that old, John.
I know, but I don't play in the social circles, so.
So is that a legitimate gig? I mean, I don't know anything about
Yeah, there's royalties involved with that
it.
he's
He
received.
collects them. She says I can clear 175 to 200,000 here.
He's liquidating 2 of his houses, so maybe we'll get taken.
How big is the wall?
Oh.
Yeah, what does he own? What does he own?
He owns 2 homes.
No, what does he own?
Oh, the original one was 96,000.
Yeah, it's on your sheet here. He owes 85,989.92.
Oh, down the bottom,
And
yeah.
the first payment he missed was from March 1st, so it was the 6
So he's
months.
pretty current.
Start at that point.
Yeah, he was just like clockwork. Even when the wall fell in, he still paid.
They were automatic payments.
Why is he in, oh, the entertainment, I was gonna say, it was all in alphabetical order, and then, oh.
That is correct legal name.
I was looking for entertainment collective, looking up to the very at the top, what are these people? Okay, I see. When's his last payment made? November? No,
It would have been February, because March 1st is when he deposited.
okay.
I don't think we have a real choice in that. We should give him more time, and hope we get paid, because I think it's an uphill battle.
Is the interest accrual on the principal that he owes? The interest accrues on the, yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve the 6-month deferral of principal interest on this loan?
I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for that.
On our second action item, I haven't had a chance to review the email you sent out a day or 2 ago. But it sounds like a lot of activity. I wonder if you could give us a quick rundown on that.
The IDA has not updated our strategic plan since 2016. We accomplished quite a bit of that plan. Actually, it was a 2-year plan, and a lot of things got checked off that were complete, and we felt it was well timed to update our strategy and maybe put a little more emphasis on recreation tourism. So our economic development team got together and said, you know, from an economic development standpoint, where do we want to go? And that's what this scope of work is in your packet. This was put together by our economic development team, which are us 3 and Eric and Robin. So we're a team of 5. And so these are the things that, from our perspective, needed to be looked at and worked on behalf of Wyoming County. Subsequently, we met with a planning consultant, and he came back with a proposal, which is the very last item in your packet. And at this point, I'd like to kick it over to Scott, our new economic development specialist, to kind of give a little rundown of the proposal that came in.
I have a question. What's new about
New to the payroll.
it?
There's
Oh.
been around a long time.
Follow the money.
Right, here I am. Yeah, so
Congratulations.
thank you. Well, I did really, it was an interesting first meeting last month because it was online, so we didn't get to see everybody in person. But the only person I haven't formally, or I think we've met at one point, but, and your wife is great friends with my mother.
Oh, really?
Brenda Smith.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, your mom was quite the workout person.
yeah.
Yeah, they're very good friends. That's great. I didn't know that.
So hopefully that, that helps with the credentials.
Sure.
So we had met with Famous Destination Marketing back at early 2020, and we're really hoping to kick this off last year, but obviously everything just dead stopped. But we continued the conversation because, as we look to one of the pillars of the strategic plan, which is tourism development, one of the initial goals of that was accomplished, and that was putting a hotel in Morrison. So now we need to look to the second part of that, or the other strategies that we have as the strategic plan is being developed and updated. So we needed to really get some expert advice. The beauty of doing a destination marketing strategy and plan is that there's actually a twofold benefit, that it helps the IDA, the BAC, the county identify projects that are prime for funding and for locating here, but it also assists the tourism side of the house in what we're marketing and who we're marketing to. So there's a win in the information that we could get out of this study. After our first couple of meetings and phone calls, we did develop the scope of work of the things that we would like to get out of this and accomplish from all of our perspectives. And we were essentially then sent from Josiah Brown, he's the president of Famous Destination Marketing, and that's a New York company, which is good. They're down in Delhi.
He specializes in rural planning.
Yeah, he actually just did work for Allegheny County's Economic Development Planning and Tourism Program. So we have some recent connections with him as well. He's also the new president of the New York State Tourism Association. So and Eric is on the board of directors. Eric's our director of tourism there. So we work with him fairly closely. But we put together the scope of work, and then he sent us the proposal that you have in front of you that really lays out almost a full month of work that we would get out of him, and it answers the questions in the scope of work that we asked for. It starts out with basically secret shopper interviews throughout the county, and then treating themselves like visitors. So they would come here, spend time without any influence. They're going to go see what it looks like from a visitor perspective. Then they spend the equivalent of 3 days in discovery, which really that's touring the county from a visitor economy perspective, and because we're asking the full economic development perspective. And then it goes through a series of stakeholder interviews, and then it really gets into the meat of it, which is the assessment and the analysis. And the three key things that we're looking for is brand analysis and competitive comparisons, identifying growth sectors and trends and areas of new development in business. And that's the E, F, and H in that. And developing the plan to attract the best opportunities that are discovered through the process. And then there's presentations and final report. But recognizing that, tourism in Wyoming County, that's all forms of tourism, represents about $50 million in economic activity in the last, in 2019, 2020, no one's able to measure quite yet. But actually, we did well in our overnight stays in tourism in 2020. Because it represents about the third largest industry in the county, it's important that we are targeting our resources wisely. And this actually is going to dovetail nicely with the next item for discussion, which is the CDBG OCR grant, and Jim will talk about it in a minute, but that is targeting agribusiness and hospitality businesses. So once we get this data, we're also going to have a better way to target businesses that we're looking for as we, when the information rolls in. So we can really add this data as an already packaged piece into the strategic plan, which is going to get worked on. So it'll just be done. Then we can work on the other sectors later. But that's the gist. There is some urgency to getting it done too, because we want to, we're starting into the tourism season, so we want to get him working as soon as possible so we can capture as much data into this year so that we can start using it into the really fall and spring of 2022.
Thank you, Scott. The number on the bottom, $33,000, we closely examined our financial picture with the Business Assistance Corporation. As a board, we recall, we have two pots of funds that are really not doing much but sitting idle. One is an old HUD account where this board had originally authorized the use of it for Bill Daley's Rural Arts Initiative. We did not use up all the funds on that program. So we have a balance in that account, Jennifer, of
$62,213.
so that's money that's just sitting there. To use those funds, because it's HUD money, it has to be tied to kind of low to moderate income requirements. There is a way to do that by doing a note to the file explaining that the initiatives that will be implemented out here will create jobs and be made available to low to moderate income people, which most tourism jobs are anyways. We would like to use those funds up if we could, so this will be a good source of a project to do that. Those HUD funds are so old that the state, which is responsible for them, has not monitored them, has not asked us to report on them for years and years and years. These funds were originally secured by Mike Hefka probably, 15 years ago or longer. So there's that pot of funds, and then there's another pot of funds where, as you remember, the CDBG money that we had, the state said, either you grant that out or you're going to send it back to us. Well, we had several loans that were made out of those funds, and the monies that was going to be paid back were not going to be greater than $35,000. So we could keep those monies, and they become unrestricted to us. So we have that fund as well, and I think collectively we're over $65,000 with that account as well. So those are the two sources of funds. If I had a preference and the board was going to agree to grant us the opportunity to do this initiative, I would say let's do the HUD money.
We're afraid of clawback. For several years, that terrified us.
This means giving up on Warsaw being the next Jackson Hole.
It's a movie, yeah.
It was a Perry.
Is that where it was?
That's where I get, everything
The
was.
bulk of it went there.
Yeah,
I thought we were going
the,
to Ashland renovate that barn and turn it into an art gallery and all that stuff.
That was a separate application that actually the village put in.
which was that?
The rehabilitation of the barn.
The carriage.
Carriage.
Oh, yeah, the village did that. Well, actually, Jim Matowski.
It was Jim.
Jim Matowski did
That's the
it.
one that, that we argued, or we took to the Red Sea about 5 years ago.
You tried the best you could, but it didn't work.
Did our best.
Do I have a motion to approve the $33,000?
It's just ask one question. Have we ever done a proposal like this? Have we had a consultant come into the county and do something like this in the past?
With this particular.
Not with this particular.
No, but I
person.
mean, this particular scope of work,
Yeah, that kind of scope of work.
not on this subject, no.
We have, the Target Tomorrow study was a consulting group that came in and did something on behalf of the county that was 20 years ago.
I mean, anytime you hire a consultant, I mean, we've all used them in the past, and, they get done with their work, they go away, and nothing gets done. And I mean, approving the funds to get it done is one thing, but results afterwards become important.
I totally agree.
And the result, and I think that's the, sort of the beauty of this, is that, number one, it justifies and fulfills the intent of the original funds that we're using.
Mhm.
And then the usage of the data will be by the tourism agency, it'll also be by the IDA, so both the marketing and the funding of projects, I think that's where the implementation will come in.
I mean, if he comes in and says, we got the next Jackson Hole, to your point, we don't have those kind of monies.
I wasn't kidding.
Is it right?
Deal all set up, this was gonna be the, Wyoming County is gonna be the art center of the eastern part of the United States.
Didn't quite have.
There was a lot of work put into it, a lot of time, some money.
There was, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not kidding around.
He's not joking.
Yeah,
It's gonna be agricultural art.
Mhm.
As I recall, we had that thing over on that fence.
And let's not talk about
That's
that.
a simple subject. The big thing we're
Oh, it's all part of it.
focusing,
Am I right or wrong?
Actually, that was not.
that was,
That was not,
Back in Jackson, Wyoming, somewhere,
that
there
was,
was a little town that was nowhere. And he started out
that
there
was
in
the Arts
Boston.
Council separate.
Down there, it was big on that.
The Arts Council did that.
That was all
That was
keeping-
separate from.
It wasn't Arts Council.
that was,
We had this big focus on agricultural art. And I suppose there was money available, and once it took off, it was gonna be the second coming of Christ.
the upside is, so when that was done, we were able to, the one positive that I could see that remains out of that is we were able to capture data from the study that was done. So that we could continue to use that in the.
It wasn't a complete waste of time. I mean,
It's a good-
if you don't try, you're never gonna.
Right, and we learned, sure.
And now we got the money, we can use it on something else.
And there's a woman over on Main Street, still in business, who went through this program, Dee Dee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
She's got that paint store next to Rusty Bones right there by the
she's
light.
thinking about maybe coming this way too,
On arcade.
yeah, she was.
in addition to that.
We had a guy that makes his own pots, that goes to,
He
goes all over the place, he's still in business.
So there were two components of this particular project we were talking about. One was the marketing study, essentially, about who's coming here, what they're doing, and that was the data that was important to us. The other component of it was actually, it was a CDBG budget, for low-income people. So the goal was to find artists who were low-income that we could fund projects to try to create some sort of nexus of rural arts. It's a complicated proposition because, to be sustainable long-term, you have to be selling enough, making, and several of them moved on. So we gave them a start, and they moved to other parts of the state or whatever. So, we gave a start. There's actually, the photographer in Perry is still in business as well. So it was, you could buy equipment, things like that, but.
I'm not opposed to any of this. I just, anyone that uses a consultant in their past, they want to have results at the end, and so many times you're disappointed.
Yeah.
And if, as long as it's focused on a project that's going to be successful, that we can all agree on, is going to bring prosperity back to the county.
I mean, the responsibility for the implementation of this plan falls on our economic development.
Good, great.
So we're able to keep that, so we can come back and talk about it.
We all love living here. I mean, the reasons you live here are all different.
Right.
To get people to come visit, the reasons why you want to live here, it ain't the weather. I can tell you that.
Right.
But it's the beauty in the fishing and the hunting and a lot of agriculture.
You know, to your point, Tom, we're a consultant. Over the years, we've had great ideas.
Yeah.
Just didn't have any money to implement.
That's it. That's what that's.
However, because of, you know, the wind projects, there's some cash around,
Great.
you know,
Yeah, that's good.
and, there's an opportunity. And I think you need to have some kind of direction, so you're not
You bet.
spending money foolishly. We've got a focus, and I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's a good idea.
And it's time, because much has changed since the tourism side of the house did its last major branding and understanding of where it is. And it's been, how long has the strategic plan work been done for the IDA?
2016 when it was.
So much has changed.
And it was a 2-year, it was meant for 2 years, too.
Right, so our tourism habits and behaviors and all that, and now look what happened in 2020. There is now a new significant change, so it's a good time to do it, because as we look to how we allocate, you know, our tourism funds and how our economic development funds, we really want to be putting it in the right places, especially as some of this infrastructure money is coming forward. You know, if you have a plan, you can target, you know, you can, and that's what we.
And that's coming fast and furious.
A little faster than almost we can.
When you say there's an urgency, there's absolutely an
Yeah.
urgency
Yeah.
to do this.
We need to have a plan.
Yeah,
You have to hire somebody who knows something about it to develop a plan, so. I'm gonna make a motion.
If everybody's had their say, I think
Mhm.
everybody has.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And Jim, I think you may have mentioned this before, item discussion before, I think maybe you already done that.
Yes, Wyoming County on our behalf, applied for funding from the Office of Community Renewal for a Micro Enterprise Grant. The county had to be the applicant, the other agencies are not eligible. So the county graciously gave us permission to use them as the tool to get the application in. There were public hearings, there was some time-consuming things that the county went through, and I want to express my appreciation to Becky and Doug and the other members of the Board of Supervisors for supporting this initiative and getting it to the point where we actually got it submitted. So we applied for $300,000 from the Office of Community Renewal. The funds will be used to provide grants of $10,000 to $20,000 to small businesses, less than 5 employees. There are some low to moderate income requirements that go along with it. There's an educational component that goes along with it. So if a new startup says, I need some money so I can start a business, well, there's got to be a training program that goes with it. And so we got the application in by using the consultant at Harry Sickerman's group, and now we just wait and see. So we're hoping to get news before too long that we'll get $300,000. And the board at the last meeting authorized us to sign a sub-recipient agreement. So this board must be really confident that it's going to get funded. So.
Any other business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Next meeting, June 10th, to follow the IDA meeting. Do I have a-
So moved.
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay, thank you very much, everyone.
That one's gonna have to be off.
Good, good.